All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our first Behavioral Health Tuesday. This is a three-part series. So when you registered, you should have received your unique link, and you will use that same link for the next 2 weeks if you choose to participate in the following sessions. And along with that link, there's also a calendar, a link to add it to your calendar of your choice. So that's an option as well. My name is Lindsay Simpson. I'm the program administrator for the Center for Evidence to Practice. I recognize many names here, but if you don't know who we are a partnership between the LSU Health Sciences Center School of Public Health and the Office of Behavioral Health. And our mission is to support the state in expanding access to evidence-based programs, specifically through the Medicaid system. So for today's session, just a few quick announcements. CEUs will be sent out, and if you wish to receive them, please just try to stay up until at least, towards to when we finish. Usually if it's a full hour, as long as you stay for 50 minutes, you'll get CEUs to the email that you registered for this for. And if you are calling in by phone, please send us an email if you wish to get CEUs, because it'll just show up as your phone number and not your name. And then in today's session, we just wanted to let everyone know that it is being recorded and will be posted on our E2P Learn website. So just keep that in mind. If you share anything, it is being recorded. So just be mindful of that as we have our discussions this afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, well, I am going to hand it over to Dr. Philippi. He is the director for the Center for Evidence to Practice and the chair of the Behavioral Health Sciences program at the LSU School of Public Health.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. It's good to see so many people jumping in on this presentation. So two things. One is Lindsay's last point about just making sure that it's recording. Just treat it like a conference presentation, right? What you would say in an open group in a conference, same kind of thing, and we should be just fine. But I do want you to participate. I encourage you to participate. Those of y'all that are on your computers and phones, there may be opportunities where we open up. And if you want to say something, we can do that. But I am going to encourage you to use your chat functions. Lindsay's going to pay attention to the chat for me, because I am going to ask you some questions, and I'll be curious where you all are at.
Can y'all hear me?
We can.
I can't hear you. I don't know what the problem is.
Interesting. Is there any problem? Anybody else having problem hearing?
Just double check your computer might be muted or not. I'm not sure.
Yep. Everybody else is saying they can hear. All right. So we're going to keep going. Hopefully whoever that was, can get it solved. So again, thanks. And let's jump in and we'll do some chats, and hopefully people catch up if they're having some technical difficulty. So like Lindsay said, I'm the director for the Center for Evidence to Practice. I've been working in and around evidence-based practices for quite a while now. And I really appreciate this opportunity and very excited to pass on information and also learn from you all. So thank you for being here with us, and thank you for participating. So my first question is, where are you at, right? So we are a year into this COVID thing. We're a year into practice in a lot of ways we've never had to do before. Approaches to practice, things that we may have done some pieces and parts of, but in the full perspective of it, haven't really possibly had to deal with a lot of the stressors and pressures. So just throw in the chat where you're at. Stress, feeling great. Can't wait for this presentation. I desperately need CEUs, so that's why I'm here. Whatever it is, I'm just curious where you are, and I'll give you a minute to populate that chat. Fairly fried. I got it. So happy to be in social work month. No worries. Feeling generally okay. Feeling good. I'm reading really fast. Very interested in learning. Love CEU. Stressed with work. Trying to remain resilient. All is well. Self-care. Stress. Good. Good. The heart, exhausted heart, thumbs up. So I'm gonna, Lindsay, if you see anything, feel free to jump in and let me know. But so we're kind of all over the place as a group, and that, no surprise, including me. I got up at 4:45, not because I wanted to, but because my wife takes care of herself and goes to the gym, and she gets up at 4:45, and I got up at 4:45. But that takes me to the point of what are we covering in this whole presentation and this discussion. And that's where we're going. So we're going to talk about self-care. I'm specifically going to tell you why it's in this order. We're going to talk about self-care because next week we're going to talk about trauma and secondary trauma. So you need to know self-care before we jump into that. And then we're going to talk about what a lot of people are discussing in real time is the longer impact of collective trauma, collective grief, and how does all this impact resilience, especially as we are helping professionals out there trying to help people day in and day out when we're also one foot in that door and one foot in our own world of trying to cope and manage a stressful situation. So, not surprising, we're going to start, because it helps, with deep breathing. Now I'm going to put a big cautionary flag on this. One of my dear friends and colleagues who is a trauma expert reminds me often that as much as we push deep breathing, it doesn't mean that everybody equally receives it. And I do know that sometimes this could be a trigger for trauma. So if you know this is a trigger, please don't do it. But if not, we're just going to pause literally for probably about 15 seconds and just do deep breathing. You can turn your camera off if you want to turn your camera off. You can leave it on, whatever you want to do. I'm going to leave mine on, and I'm just going to walk you through it. It's going to be deep breath, blow it out, hold it out, breathe back in, breathe back out. So we just take a few minutes, and some of y'all may have already done this today. If you haven't, I'm sorry, but we're going to get you into hopefully a better space for the rest of the presentation. So just do it with me real quick. Take a few minutes and just breathe really in. You got to breathe deep though. When I work with kids, I talk to them about if you imagine a little ping pong ball, you got to get that ping pong ball all the way up to here when you breathe in, and you got to get it all the way back down to your stomach when you breathe out. So breathe in really deep and just 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 2, 3, 4, and then blow it out. 2, 3, 4, and hold it out. 2, 3, 4. We're going to do it again. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Blow out. 2, 3, 4. Hold it out. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, and holding it. 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. 2, 3, 4. All right. That puts me in a better space. Anyway, hopefully you too. All right, so let's jump into this. So now that you're feeling a little bit de-stressed, what creates that pressure on you as people, as helpers? Just curious. Fill up the chat. What stresses you? What puts all that pressure on you today, sitting here on March 2nd, and thinking about your work life, and everything else? Paperwork. Kids in school, kids in their school, lack of resources, getting everything done on time, deadlines, do more faster, generally overwhelmed, creating plans, therapy plans, the pandemic, planning lessons, work, 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 work. Not enough time deadlines, do more with less, staff shortages, having to cook, borderline personality disorder, concern about clients in crisis, providers who need self-care but no time to provide it to them. Yeah, I am guessing, I'm going to pause right there because I love what Carla just said. I am guessing that as much as you may want to be here, and we're excited about being here, doing something different, some diversity in your day, nothing stops, right? I literally have turned off my phones. I was telling Lindsay, I've already got somebody from LSU calling me, trying to get me to do an interview this afternoon. Nothing ever stops, right? Even when we're trying to do something possibly to care for ourselves, nothing stops. The world keeps spinning. So, I appreciate that. There's two types of stress, and there's eustress and there's distress. And what we're going to talk a lot about is distress. Eustress is the good stuff. Eustress is the stuff that gets you to turn into onto self-help, some strategies for self-help, self-care, things like that. It's good stress, right? It's what gets us up in the morning. Even when we don't feel like it, we still roll out of bed. We still do what we need to do. Get those kids to school, get the cooking done, get the job done, get those deadlines met. That's eustress, right? It's that positive stress that makes us perform pretty well. Distress is what starts eating us, right? And that's not the good stuff. That's when literally we've gone from this kind of very healthy stress to what, give credit to Michelle Manny at LSU, I stole the slide from her, is that right? We go from the eustress, which is that optimal performance kind of stress, that challenge, to we're starting to get the demands of our life, our day, our work, our kids, our families, whatever. The demands start exceeding our abilities. And then chronic excessive stress starts doing horrible things to us. And so what we're going to pay attention to, not so much as what optimizes our performance, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but how do we make sure we are attending to these things that are pushing us to the other side of stress that's not healthy. So seeing is believing, right? These always give me pause. Abraham Lincoln comes into office. Abraham Lincoln, 4 years later, leaving office. Tell me stress doesn't do something to you. We'll go modern time in case you think things have changed. Barack Obama, 2009. Barack Obama, 8 years later, leaving office. And if you don't think stress does stuff to you, it takes a physical toll on us. There's the bags under my eyes because I woke up too early and I've been working all day. And then there's the bags under my bags, under my bags, under my eyes, right? Stress takes a toll, a big toll on us. So let me do this before I jump into that. Some of y'all read really quickly. What's the indicators of stress? What are those signs? Because we're all kind of different. And I know there's a specific sign that I've become more and more aware of in myself. But what are the signs of stress? When do you know you're stressed? And you guys are in helping professions, you're responders and everything else. So people get irritable, people get their heart racing, right? Poor sleep, headaches, get impatient, easily irritated, good. Poor eating habits, aches, good. Lack of focus, headaches, upset stomach. Absolutely. So, and I'm going to go with Richard's, that last piece on Richard's chat, which is that muscle tension. I am so slow sometimes to catch my own irritability. How many trips I took to the refrigerator because I'm working from home. But where I do feel it is right across my shoulders. And by the time I feel it there, I know I've gone way too far. I am not in any kind of eustress, right? I am in stress, and I feel it big time. Across my shoulders, in the back of my neck, down my spine, and I certainly get that. some of the stuff that y'all have said, and I just put this one up here. So the indicators of distress from the literature, different aspects of how do we know people are distressed. And a lot of these you said, the headaches, the stomach aches, the lethargy. Nobody admitted to constipation, I don't think. I was trying to read the chat quickly, but nobody admitted to that. So we'll leave that where it is. Emotional, that irritability, right? That anger, the sadness, or the anxiety. Somebody saw, I saw anxiety up there. I didn't see depression or sadness, but certainly there. And then those personal things. And I didn't see it so much. Oh, the irritability is definitely there, but irritability with my spouse or my family, right? So in my household, my wife's a psychologist. She's in private practice full time. And I'm working at the university full time, running the center, running behavioral and community health, working with kids, not kids, I've got to stop saying that. Working with students, adult students that are in college. I'm just getting old is the problem. But yeah, all that irritability, right? All that stress and everything else, we can take it home. And especially when we're working from home, it makes it really easy because there's no off time a lot of times. Some of y'all are still working from home. Some of y'all are back in the office, but I'm largely still working from the house. I don't think it's going to last too much longer. But my wife's practice is literally a mile away. So there's no de-stress time. I mean, all the stuff from work is still there and present. And then you've got workforce in terms of, do you start being tardy or later and later, you start missing appointments, you lack your own motivation. This is just, and I'm not talking about just you don't really feel it today. I'm talking about that lack of motivation where you're struggling to get up every day and get to work. And those are all indicators of distress. So, Lindsay, is there anything in the chat that I missed that I should be paying attention to?
I think we're good. Just some other physical ones: acne, fatigue, hair loss, stomach aches. Yeah.
Okay. No, absolutely. Acne is a real, certainly associated with hormonal reactions, and also certainly associated with stress. And then hair loss, I'm with you, whoever said that. I'm losing hair faster than I ever imagined. So I won't bend down too far. There's a lot of cold air that hits the top of this head. So let's take what stresses you out and start talking about paying attention to your own needs. And I'm just going to give you a kind of a prelude. By the end of today, there's a sheet that you should have gotten for today, which is a self-care plan. I am going to encourage you, even if you don't fill out the sheet, just to jot down on a sheet of paper some things that you could do. But I want you to think about emotionally, physically, recreational, relationally, right? Work, spirituality, all of those things we know can lend themselves to lowering your overall stress. So I do want you to start thinking in terms of that. So before we even get into this, just curious again, if you guys can load up the chat a little bit. Give me a couple ideas about what do you do emotionally? I'm just curious to take care of your emotional needs. What do you do? Pray, honor feelings, exercise, meditate. Good, meditate. Pray, journal. Fantastic. Read. Meditate. Whole lot of meditation. Good for you guys. Self-care. Pray. Fish. Go fishing. Short trips. Good. All right. So let me talk to you about. Let's switch gears then. How about physical? And maybe this is where the bath bubbles that Parthenia just said. Maybe this is where this comes back. But what about how do you take care of your physical needs? What do you do? So exercise, walking. Walking, by the way, for those of y'all that don't know, it's not only good for your health, but it's good for you cognitively. There's lots of studies out there that shows that it slows down cognitive decline in older folks like me. Eating healthy, weights, tennis, good. Pedicures, love it. All right, so physical needs. What about recreational? Maybe that goes back to the fishing thing that we already saw. But what do you do to recreational take care of yourself? So crafts, garden, bike ride, online gaming, good, shopping. All right, all of those things, just unwind, golfing, something other than what you do at work, obviously. Dance classes, I like it. All right, switch gears again, relationally. What do y'all do relationally to take care of yourself? Date nights, good. So actually literally making sure you've got that plugged in. Meet up with friends, do FaceTime, connect that way using social media, good. Spend time with family, Zoom meetings with families, good. Talk to families, friends, fantastic. All right, maybe a little tougher one. How do you self-care at work? Curious. Uh-oh, there's pause in the chat all of a sudden. Notes, take breaks, good. Mini breaks, fantastic. Boundaries, take breaks, boundaries, good. Breathing, get organized. Organization goes a long way at work, fantastic. Make sure you eat lunch, good. Laugh, take a break, good. Lunch breaks. That's fantastic. I am the absolute worst about lunch breaks. I do better at home, but I am the first to work right through lunch if I'm at my office. So I'm glad to see y'all are making sure you take those breaks. All right, close the door. Good for you. All right. And then last but not least, and y'all have already said this a lot, but I'm just gonna, when we start talking about spirituality, y'all have mentioned praying, you've mentioned meditating, you've mentioned those journals and writing and prayer journals. So you've done really fantastic with that. Affirmations, I see that as well. All right, so good for you. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of the answers that are out there, but y'all have said a lot of these. So taking care of yourself, self-care strategies, and I know so many of y'all are constantly talking to people, talking with people about taking care of themselves because that's part of your job. But sometimes we are the worst to actually do these things ourselves, and I'm certainly guilty of that. But sleeping well, and I was thrilled to see so many people put sleeping in those categories because we don't do it well. I've got this mental clock now because my wife and I are, between school stuff and everything else and work, I know what time we get up in the morning and I'm constantly backing it up and I'm like, oh, that 8 hours suddenly turned into 7 hours is now turning into 6 hours of sleep. And as soon as I start thinking 6 hours of sleep, I'm like, no, this isn't good. And I used to be proud about how little I slept. I used to tell everybody all the time, 3-4 hours, I was good. Probably the most unhealthy thing I could have been doing. But so sleeping well is important. Y'all mentioned eating healthy, exercising, getting physical touch. And I know that y'all said date night. Hopefully that might include physical touch too. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Depends on how big that date night table is. But the emotional, y'all said seeing friends. Couple of things that are also there, just crying, laughing. I saw somebody put laughing in the chat, but making sure when you're ready to fall apart, you fall apart and you have people there to support you, hopefully when you do. But this is the work in the world we're in is not for sissies, that's for sure. We've got a whole lot of pressure. Somebody said affirmations, make sure that includes yourself, right? Looking for those ways to say, damn it, I did a good job. I did a really, it was hard. I'm really smart. I'm taking care of stuff. Give yourself some credit, sometimes more credit than you think you're due, but you probably are very due it. So make sure you give yourself plenty of credit. Engage in humor, make sure you laugh. I saw that and I appreciate that. And then talking to counselors. One of the things when we talk about, get to the end of the story, three meetings from now, we're going to talk about it. Healthy people know when to reach out for help. It's part of what we do, right? If you are a healthy person, when you need help, you know how to ask for it and link to it. So when you need that ability to talk to somebody else, maybe a counselor, a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. Again, no shame in it. I think, and I don't know if they still do it in schools anymore, but I know we were strongly encouraged in the clinical program to make sure that we got our own counseling. You need to sit on both sides of the couch, right? So making sure that if you need that help, you get it. Y'all said a lot on the personal recreational stuff. Relax, get out, engage, that quiet time, hobbies, activities. Y'all did well to list a lot of those things: biking, tennis, crafts, and those things. Workplace, y'all nailed it. Taking breaks, setting limits. Y'all said boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Absolutely. Seeking peer support. You know, and I know some of y'all work in groups, some of y'all work solo practices. But even if you work in a solo practice, making sure you're connected to other people that understand the work that you're doing and you can lean on. And making sure, I didn't see this in any of y'all's chat, but the workplace, use your personal time. I am, maybe it's just a different mindset now, but I used to be proud of how little vacation time I used because I was a productive personnel, right? No, use the vacation time. That's what it's there for. Don't leave it on the books. It helps us stay healthier. So definitely use the personal time, use the vacation time. And if you're in a private practice where you don't have vacation time, take time off, shut that practice down. I know my wife and I approach this very differently, right? Because she's in a private practice, sole practitioner. And when she stops, all the payments, all of her income stops, right? Mine, I've got the luxury of having benefits at work. So it is a very different mindset, but she prepares for it and she knows, you know, she makes enough that she takes time off, she takes time off. It's all part of the bigger package. And then spiritually, pray, meditate, seek guidance. There's so much good stuff out there now related to mindfulness, meditation, guidance via the internet, guidance via churches, just staying attached to communities that are willing to share in those spiritual journeys. So whether that spirituality is just, you know, that more of that spiritual philosophy of how to be a better human being and take care of your spirit, or it's a very religious practice, you run the gamut. There's communities out there for all. So strongly encouraged to make sure you stay attached. So you all have done a phenomenal job. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things and pause a little bit in between because I know there's a lot of information, but I want to make sure that as you all start thinking about your own plan, right? Y'all are doing what you're doing right now. We're hoping to add a little bit more or maybe do something a little bit different so you're even caring for yourself just a little bit better, leaving this and going into the rest of your work week. But connecting with others, right? We know resiliency, and we'll talk more about resiliency down the road, but resiliency thrives on connection. So if you aren't part of a social group, if you're not part of some network, and I know, you know, through social distancing and everything, people have been creative, but being part of a group makes a difference. Whether that is a group of 2, whether it's a group of 10, that doesn't matter. The work on resiliency will say over and over again, those that are connected to others recover faster. They recover from stressful events faster. They thrive in different ways. So I love the stay positive, and I'm not talking about a false positivity where you feel like you've got to be the most positive person in the room. Some people do that naturally. Some people struggle. But really think about it and start thinking about, especially if you're that person that just, you know, our brains are all wired differently. If you're one of those people that your brain naturally goes to the negative, there's nothing right or wrong about it. It's just some people, they look at a situation like, oh, I can dismantle this and tell you exactly what's wrong with it really quickly. Other people look at it and they're like, oh, I can tell you everything that's right about it. Both are fine. What I'm suggesting to you is just, especially if you're on that automatic negative, you might want to just pause and say, what is right about this situation before I go into what's wrong. And I do love that sentence at the very end. You when we're thrown into crisis, you both have the threat of things could go really wrong, but you also have the opportunity that we survive all of these things. We have survived every crisis to date. And I know not everybody has survived. And I certainly want to pause and recognize the fact that no matter how hard we've worked through this pandemic, the number of people that have died is still staggering. And we're just beginning to pick up the pieces of some of that reality. And I do, unless it was something that was personally felt, either in your caseload, your own family, your own friends, a lot of times we've got so accustomed to seeing the numbers now. I'm kind of shocked that 500,000 doesn't shock us. I hope it does. We've lost a lot, but we've also survived these worst moments to date, and so there's something that is worth celebrating too, and being positive in that. There's a lot of people that are surviving in the midst of the face of horrible and tragic events. Physically active. So I'm gonna not tout any specific physical regimen. The science on physical activity and weight and all that stuff always boils down to two things, no matter how you want to look at it. It boils down to how much you eat and how much you move. If you're looking at it from an exercise standpoint, from a health standpoint, whatever, all I'm going to tell you is, at least for today, that we know that if you get up, especially those of y'all that are in clinical practices where you're sitting all day long, or you're at a computer like I am and we are right now looking at phones and computers, you got to get up and move. 5 minutes, just 5 minutes every hour. Get up. Do something other than stare at that screen. Do something other than sitting in your place waiting for your next client or that kind of thing. So make sure you get up and move. All right. I'm going to pause for a second. Any issues, concerns? Anybody have an aha moment before we jump into more tools to help you feel stronger, more hopeful? All right. There's more. Helping others. So this is going to be a little bit of no surprise to you all, but you also know the struggle of helping others because that's what most of you all do, is help others. But it does give us purpose and feeling that we're contributing to society. So I do encourage you, whether it's if you do this full time, taking a break from helping others is a good thing. But sometimes just shifting how you're helping. Maybe talking to people all day is what you do for a living. So maybe just cooking a meal and delivering it to a neighbor in need, or participating in a food pantry and delivering, whatever. Helping others makes us feel good. So I do encourage you to figure out what that might be. We've talked about getting enough sleep quite a bit. The only thing I'll mention about that is making sure that you have that space. So a lot of us have TVs in our bedrooms now. A lot of us bring our phones to bed. I know a lot of people are required to bring their phones to bed because maybe they're on call and things like that. However, if you don't have to look at that phone while you're laying in bed, you're not checking your social media while laying in bed, you're not watching your next version of next whatever on Netflix or Prime Video or whatever you're doing these days, Disney Plus. If you're not doing that in bed, what happens is we actually train our brain to know that when we lay down, it's that time. There's nothing else that goes on. We're laying down, we're going to bed. It is a time our brain starts clicking in faster. You'll get to sleep faster. You'll get that restful sleep faster versus flipping through social media and everything else. And look, I'm guilty of it. I'm not talking perfection here. I'm just talking about what we know works and where people have struggled. And then feeling good is good for you. So looking for those things. Y'all talked about your hobbies, your recreation and all that stuff. I do like that whole idea. Somebody had said in the chat about being organized at work. Uncluttering makes us feel better. It's like a satisfaction moment where we're not tripping all over things. So anything that can help find that joy and satisfaction. Eating well, so not just going on fad diets and everything else. We know, especially with working from home, binge eating is a big problem. I am literally, I can see the refrigerator from here. I'm no more than 20, 30 steps away from the refrigerator on any given moment. So it's a problem, especially if you're still working from home. So making sure that, you know, you're not just eating out of boredom, or you're not just eating out of stress and all that kind of stuff, but eat well. I love the basic breakdown of the right foods that fuel your mind. So obviously eating fresh is the best, but frozen is kind of the secondary. And then if you got to go canned, and obviously trying to avoid fast food as much as possible. Taking care of your spirit, we've talked about it, so I won't dwell on that. Dealing better with hard times. We say that, especially all of you all on here that are so many helping professions. We preach this all the time, right? But do we really do it, right? So are we stepping away from the constant bad news? Are we shutting things down? Are we having those boundaries at work where we can turn things off? Are we turning off the social media from people that frustrate us and blow up our social media with things that we disagree with, or just makes us aggravated? You know, is the news just a constant churning of another negative story after a negative story after a negative story? What are you doing to turn some of that off and to really turn in, to looking at what is working in the world, not just the problems? There is so much stuff that's working right now. I've had a lot of conversations, even the Zoom stuff, which drives me crazy on any given day. What a silver lining it is. I mean, the opportunities to really be more efficient, to not waste time driving from place to place like I did for so many years, to have so many people in one place that it didn't require them to take a half day off to get there. There's good stuff coming out of this. It's not ideal, but there's definitely good stuff. And we already talked about getting professional help if needed. So I'm going to pause right there. So that's about tools to help you feel stronger and hopeful. Other ideas or issues, or I see some of y'all like being home. Comes and goes, it depends. I sometimes do, sometimes don't. I do miss some camaraderie that happens in the community, that happens at work and with our students and everything, but I do, the commute's much better these days. So I see some of y'all are multitaskers. So doing stuff while you're working and the Zoom or whatever is going on. So, all right. Saved a ton of money in car maintenance. That is good. Silver lining stuff, right? Very hard to provide therapy with kids at home. Yes. So my kids are all off at school at the moment. So none of that is here. But I do have a dog laying right behind me that I am very thrilled has not barked yet. But yeah, it is hard, right? It's hard when you've got kids walking in and out. I had one of the girls came in the other day, and I was typing away, and I mean, I'm focused on this piece of paper that I've got to get done and out. And it was just like, they were ready to talk, you know, hey, what's going on? What you working on? All that stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And I felt like I need to give time to those boundaries, and certainly help. I see a lot of y'all are good to having pets around more. All right. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. And So how do you bring this self-care at work? Some of y'all are back at an office already. I've been in and out now, but not fully back at the office. But when we are back at the office, or when we're back in our working groups and work, what do we know works in the corporate or business end of things, especially in people that are working as professional helpers and clinicians and counselors and other professional helping roles? Training, right? The more you know about how to do what you do well, the easier the job is, the better you're at it, the better the outcomes, the better satisfaction we have at work. It makes us feel better. So training goes a long way, especially training, not just for knowledge's sake, but training that transitions to something that you actually do differently, that you behave differently, you do things differently at work. Those are the kind of trainings that really make a difference. Having peer support. So if you're in a private practice by yourself, solo practice, certainly connecting with other people that are out there. But if you're in a group where you can have peer support, just to be able to talk, hey, this is what went really well today. I was so proud of myself. This is the things that went really wrong. And having those people that you can confidently share things with, and they'll hear you. They won't validate everything you say because you're not 100% right. I certainly am not. But they'll listen, and then they'll either validate you or say, hey, maybe you could have looked at it this way. We work in stressful environments, and we know that, and incidents happen. And we'll talk more about crisis and trauma and all of that stuff in the following, but we work in stressful environments. This is what we signed up for in the helping profession. So being able to have a plan of how do you actually debrief those stressful incidents, being able to talk to somebody about what happened, maintain confidentiality as required, but what happened and what did you do to respond? And then in an honest appraisal, could you have done anything differently? Do your peers, the people that you can count on, could they give you some ideas? Could you actually have done something different that would have actually changed the outcome? And sometimes the answer is yes, we could have changed it this way. Maybe the outcome would have been this. Sometimes the answer is no. You literally did everything that you could, and the outcome still was what it was. But that sense of being able to debrief those stressful situations helps us know that we're on track or improve if there's ways that we can improve. And then endless recognition and appreciation opportunities. So if you're in part of a group that does this, oh, thank God, because you're already way ahead of the game. If you're in a group where you have to, or if you're in an individual practice where you have to rely on other people to do this, hopefully you have some really good people. But we thrive on knowing that we've done things well, right? So if you're walking in the office and say, thank God you're here today. I'm so glad to see you. That's that affirmation, that appreciation. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being in the meeting. Appreciate you being in this training. All of those things make us feel good and recognize for the efforts we're making. And for the supervisors that are on the call, the secret to that is it also increases the likelihood that it will happen again when we pay attention and we recognize people for the good things they contribute. So that's in the work world. So we know action changes things. Y'all have given a lot of good ideas. Hopefully via the chat, via what I've tried to read back, some of the things that I've highlighted. I want y'all to start thinking, right? So we know action changes things, not just talking. Sorry about this cartoon, but this has just been my world, right? So as I start to look through COVID, pandemic, economic ups and downs and everything else, I just think about this all the time. So, hey, here's a vaccine. Everybody's like, woo, we need a vaccine. Then the vaccine comes out and it's like, oh, well, that's not the right kind of vaccine, or it doesn't do this, or it doesn't do that. We've got different perspectives going on, right? And that means including this, we've got 112 people on this call. I can promise you we could pull out just about any current topic and have different perspectives on it, right? But this is the deal, right? Are you waiting on that desert island for some help? And suddenly there's a boat and it's like, woohoo, it's coming. Or are you on the boat looking for, oh my God, I got to get out of this boat and I want to get on dry land? Neither perspective's wrong. It's just where you're coming from and where you're at. So your perspective going into this is going to be really important. So I'm actually going to come back to this. What I do want you to think about is action, right? Not just talk, not just this discussion we've done. I want you to start thinking about, of all the things you've heard today, if you could just take one thing, two things, and start doing a little bit more of it. Maybe you're already doing it, but you know you need to do it a little bit more. Or one or two things that you could start doing. And be gentle to yourself, be kind to yourself. Human beings are not strong at changing, right? We can take action and then we slip back, and then we take action and we'll slip back. So be kind to yourself. But I do want you to think through it and get to this part of, this is one of the things that came out in the handout from Lindsay, and it's on the materials. But I do want you to start thinking, and I do think there's value to writing it down. So we've talked about it, we've chatted, I've highlighted some stuff y'all have said, but what are the things that you can start doing that you've heard today or heard from people posting in the chat, seen, that you could do? But for those of y'all that are behaviorists out there, you guys know exactly where I'm going with this. So target something. You know, what is it specifically that you're going to do? So if you say sleep more, I want to know how much more, right? If you say exercise more, I want to know what and how. You know, not just this global idea. So what specifically will you do, right? How will you know that the goal was reached? So if you say sleep more, how are you going to know when you reached it? Because more could mean 5 minutes, it could mean an hour. I don't know what it is. And then my favorite part of this exercise in your plan is that last column. Because honestly, what keeps us most accountable is when other people notice it. So how will other people around you, your fellow working peers, all that kind of stuff, how will other people notice that you succeeded in it? How will they know? And if you can break down one or two things that you want to do to take care of yourself better, I'd encourage you to fill in all of those blocks and write that out. All right, I see, let's see. So I started working an hour at least 4 or 5 days a week now. Working out. I'm like, working. All right, so people working out. So specific times, right? So specific times, I'm working out more, and people have ways to see it. And maybe they won't see it. Maybe they'll notice you have more energy. Maybe they'll notice you're going to the gym. They see me at the gym. People will know I'm working out, right? Somebody that's not working out or doesn't see you at the gym may see you a couple of weeks from now and say, you look better, you look healthier, you look like you've got more energy. You know, a month or two from now, you might look totally different. Exercising morning, evening, walking at least 10 minutes daily to decompress. Good. The dog with you, the dog's there to hold you accountable. Yes, if I pick up a leash and I can't believe I've said walk now 3 times and my dog hasn't barked. So good, dog's holding you accountable. So I appreciate that. Those are all good responses in the chat and good ideas, but really think through it about what can you do? How will you know you're doing it specifically so that you can pat yourself on the back, affirm the fact that you're taking action, and then also how would other people know? Now, we're going to take one action before we leave this meeting. So I am going to go back. I do want to do this with you. So I don't want anybody suing me because I hurt their back or anything else. I love this exercise. If you haven't done it, it's worth its weight in gold. You can turn off your camera if you want. But if you see the picture of the person in the chair, put your feet on the floor and literally sit up straight, your back straight as possible. And what we're going to do is we are going to tense up. My favorite exercise. I like this better than the breathing exercise anyway. But we're going to literally tense up. Don't hurt yourself. Don't do anything else. but put your hands behind your back. Literally start pushing your head on your hands. Tense up your muscles in your arms. Feel your hands pushing back on your head and your neck, right? Sit up straight. Feel that tension all the way down in your back. I told you I get stressed in my shoulders. And really feel all those muscles in your back, in your arms, in your neck. And just get them really, really, really tight as you sit up for a second. Don't hurt yourself. And then on the count of 5, we're just gonna let it all go, but don't do it yet. Stay tense, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look at that guy in the picture right next to it and just sit back and relax a little bit and let all those muscles loose. I love that. The tension release, just feeling all of that, your muscles start relaxing again. It is a good feeling. So we've taken action, and we're almost at the end. Let me see what other chat we've got. Oh, y'all liked it. Very good. That's one I usually get requests to keep that in training. So I'm glad y'all liked it. So where are we going to go? All right. We started today. You guys were fantastic about loading up the chat, being part of this. So it's not just me talking at y'all. But I do want to take it from the self-care. We're going to look at vicarious trauma and secondary stress next week. And then we'll look at community grief, community trauma, community resilience in that final week, so that we are stronger as a professional group together. Any comments, questions, issues before we go? I did hear that if I let you out a few minutes early, nobody was going to complain. I do love this comment or this piece at the end, that this is life. Do not judge my story by the chapter you walked in on. And I absolutely love it. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate you participating and loading up the chat. And I look forward to seeing as many of y'all as possible next Tuesday. We'll do this again.